Peacock. Today I'm taking a look at a deck builder called Heart and Crown. It's from Japanime Games, plays 2 to 4 players. For those of you that don't know, a deck builder is a type of game where players typically start with the same 10 cards or so. It's typically 10. You're going to play those cards from your hand. You generally just drop them down on the table and you do whatever the card is. You're usually getting money to buy new cards at the market. And then there's another resource that's going to be for attacking someone or victory points or something like that. As far as where I'm at with deck builders, I do like the genre. I've got a bunch in my collection. I've got Xenoshift from Cool Mini or Not. It's my cooperative tower defense deck builder. I've got Hero Realms and Star Realms. That's my quick competitive deck builder. I've got this game called Codex, which is the furthest stretch from the genre, but it's got a little bit of deck building. Clank and Clank in Space. It's deck building while delving in a dungeon or on a spaceship. Tyrants of the Underdark. It's a area control deck builder. And I've got Trains, which is the closest to the original deck builder Dominion that I do have. Let me give you a rules overview and I'll tell you what I think of it.
At the beginning of the game, you're going to have your market that's set up. You're going to have your randomized market. So out of 30 different sets of cards, you're going to pick 10 that you're going to use for the game. The rulebook does have pre-set up card combinations, which might be good for a certain balance, so you can definitely play your first couple of games with those. You're going to have your pile of 10 different sets of 5 cards all shuffled together, and you will keep flipping them up until you have 8 unique piles. If you flip over a card that you've already got one thereof, you'll just add it to that pile. Then you're going to have the market that's available every game. These are your succession cards and your territories that you can buy. And if you have a card that uses curses, then you would use this curse pile right here. Next, you're going to set out the 6 princess cards that are used every game. Everyone's going to get their same starting deck. You're going to get 7 farming villages and 3 apprentice maids. The apprentice maids are just crap that takes up space in your hand. They have no practical use. Once you're set up, you determine the first player. Each player will draw a hand of 5 cards, and then you're ready to jump into it. On your turn, you have a main phase. You can select an action or a territory card from your hand to play, and when you do, you put it up, face up in your play area. When you play a card, it's going to have 1, 2, or 0 arrows on it. If it has an arrow on the right edge, that means that you can chain another card after it. If the first card you play didn't have any arrows, you don't get to play anything else from your hand. A card could have an arrow at the bottom, which gives it 2 branching paths to play cards. This sets it a little bit apart from other deck builders, because I've never played one where the order matters or the certain cards you play could limited your entire hand. So you just keep playing linkable cards until you either do not want to play anymore or you stop. Once the first part of your turn is done, where everyone is playing their cards for their money or the abilities they might do, then the second phase of the turn, you can do one of 3 things. You can buy cards from the market. You can back a princess. This can only be done once per player per game. Or you can add succession cards to your domain. So what is a domain? That's important to talk about. When you back a princess, you're going to take up to 3 of the territories you use to gain money to afford the 6 coins it costs for a princess, and these are going to be your domain for the rest of the game. Once you have a domain, you get a couple extra abilities you can do. You can store a card on top of one of your territories, an action card. So just say I have a large city, which costs me 6 coins. I can store an action card that costs 6 or less on top of it. It's basically like a hand that I can reserve from turn to turn. Now, to win the game, after you have a domain, you're playing these succession cards. This little crown symbol here are your victory points. Once a player has 20 points worth of succession cards added to their domain, I get to what's called declare a coronation ceremony. Then all the other players have one more turn, and if they can also go over 20 points, then it becomes sudden death overtime. And the gameplay continues as normal, but the first person to cross 30 points will become the winner.
So that's Heart of Crown, little deck builder from Japanime Games. Now, I like this game. I thought it was fine. I thought it was really interesting how you have to play your hands by linking one card into another. So that offers some interesting decisions on what you're buying, what order you play cards in. Sometimes you just got to play that card that doesn't link, but it gives you a really good ability. I also quite enjoy how once you have your domain, you can store cards on there, and you can really create some big, fun moves like that. Getting your domain, so I mean that's kind of interesting. It spawns like some planning. You can have enough to back a princess, but you've got to have like land to spare in your deck. So you really have to wait till the time is right before you back a princess. If you do it too early, you're going to have a hard time affording better cards while your opponent's going to start stacking his deck. I also like the 6 different princesses all have their own special ability. You can kind of choose what kind of bonus you want when you're getting your princess. I tend to always get the one that's worth 6 points, but they all do something pretty cool. Sudden death overtime. None of my games have gone into sudden death overtime. Well, it's first 1 to 30, and I'm kind of glad for that, because by the time one player gets to 20, I'm ready for the game to be done. The theme with the princesses and the artwork is fantastic. Well, the artwork is fantastic. The theme, I could take or leave. At least it's, not the same as everything else. It's a little bit unique, so that's cool. But where I'm at with, my gaming collection is if a game comes in, I got to get rid of another one. That's a decision I'm just starting to live by right now. My shelves are getting filled up. I don't really feel like building more or storing them in a different room. And this game just doesn't dethrone any of the other deck builders. As a matter of fact, Trains is on its way out too. Trains was pretty early on, closely related to Dominion, but with a board. And I feel like those types of deck builders have kind of, they've kind of evolved since that point. I know Dominion is huge with tons of expansions. There's a lot of love for Dominion, but honestly, like 10 times out of 10, I'm going to want to play Tyrants of the Underdark or Clank or Star Realms instead of pulling out Heart of Crown. And the setup and teardown for games like this one in Trains is a pain. I mean, I hate spending 15 minutes randomizing cards, and then when the game's done, to sort everything out and then to slide them back into the original spots. I don't have to worry about that with Clank or Star Realms or Hero Realms. And Xenoship, the co-op one, yeah, there's a little bit of that, but it's just that theme is like Starship Troopers. It's cooperative, it's exciting. Yeah, that's where I stand with this. I'm like, I could take it or leave it. I will say this, my 9-year-old Hayden and my wife really liked it, and they didn't want me to get rid of this one, but realistically, I don't think they're going to be asking to play it too much themselves. There's a couple of expansions out for this game that were designed right when the base game was being designed, so you can track those down. There's an Eastern Front one and a Western, so if this one does appeal to you, then it's got that expandability. Who knows what the future might hold for this? I didn't really look into if there was more planned. Yeah, so all in all, I mean, maybe a 6 out of 10 for me. That's Heart of Crown. I'll check you out next time. I'm Jason Peacock. Hit me up on the old Twitter here or Board Game Geek. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.